REITs were very unpopular 5 or 6 years ago. Now they're popular, and it's better to pay attention to something that is being scorned than something that's being championed. And there's really been a big change in the REIT situation in the last 5 or 6 years.
And the REITs have phony accounting.
Otherwise, we love them.
Yeah.
You don't want to bring up anything in these meetings.
Investment real estate is having bubble valuation problems of its own right now. All my rich friends who own real estate are selling their worst properties, and they're getting bids that come in higher than their highest expectations, and people are competing to take these things off their hands. I do not find it exciting, and it certainly doesn't fit Berkshire. Name me a lot of C corporations that have been passive holders in real estate and have done well over a whole lot of years. It's almost a null class.
Yeah, Charlie and I mean both, more Charlie than I, we've had certain personal real estate investments over time, and it's a field that in general we understand. We don't bring that much special to the game, but we understand it. We've made money in it. And actually, at the time that the NASDAQ about hit its high, REITs were quite cheap in my view, and I have a less than 1% of my net worth outside of Berkshire, but basically I had that portion all in REITs. They're all small ones at that time, but they were selling at discounts at that time. They were selling at discounts to the values of properties, and those values of properties were much more conservatively figured than today. Today you have very fancy prices on real estate, and on top of that you have the REITs often selling at a premium to those. So I regard REITs as quite unattractive now, certainly compared to 5 or 6 years ago. But that's a group of securities.
So that's for an individual you regard them as unattractive.
Yeah.
And for a corporation, that much more so.
Yeah, right. The situation's changed dramatically from 5 or 6 years ago. I mean, the stock market, in many respects, from the 1999-2000 period is down significantly. REITs are up significantly. Yeah, I would say that gold would be way down. Yeah, I would say that gold would be way down on my list as a store of value. I mean, I would much prefer owning 100 acres of land near here in Nebraska, or an apartment house, or an index fund. Gold, we'll say, was freed up 30 odd years ago, but it adjusted to a market that still, if you go back to 1900, you were talking $20 gold. Well, you take 20 to 400 in 100 years. The Dow went from 60 to 12 or 13,000, and then 12,000 or whatever it might have been in that same period, and paid you dividends during the time you owned it. It was 66, I think, at the start of the century, and I forget when it ended, but it's 11 or 12,000. And like I say, it was paying you something every quarter during that period. And if you own gold, you paid $20 in 1900 or thereabouts, and then we'll say you had it $400 100 years later. And in the meantime, you paid insurance and perhaps some storage cost. It really is not a store of value, and I'm not arguing for paper money, but if you're worried about paper money, and I think it makes a lot of sense to worry about paper money over long periods of time, but it's just about the last thing I would want to own under those circumstances. It has a farm has utility, an apartment house has utility, a business will produce earnings, and to some businesses will produce them in real terms as they go along. I'd rather have the ability to sell people a pound of candy 20 years from now, and if they're dealing in seashells, I'll get an appropriate number of seashells instead of paper money for it. But I don't see gold as a store of value, and it's the truth is it hasn't worked very well. But forget about whether it's worked well the last 100 years or the last 50 years or the last 10 years. I see no reason, why it would work well in the future. I forget whether we're turning out about 3,000 or 4,000 tons of gold a year. We take it out of the ground in South Africa and we put it in the ground at Fort Knox or someplace, in the New York Fed. And it doesn't do much along the way for anybody. So I don't know, Charlie, how do you feel about gold?
Well, I think gold was and similar items, that was a great thing to have if you were a well-to-do Jewish family in Vienna in 1935, because you had hazards where that gold had enormous utility to you. But for Berkshire Hathaway sitting here in 2005, it just doesn't interest us at all.
Number 7?
Doesn't interest us at all.
Number 7?
My name is Al Henderson from Minnesota. I'd like to thank both of you for being yourselves and doing so much for all of us and to help enrich ourselves and everyone else. My question I have is, actually, you have already referred to it, that you devote very little time to looking at the total market and look for individual opportunities most. But I was wondering, in the past you made some excellent presentation on points to consider in projecting reasonable 10-year returns for the stock market, and had advised reduced expectations. Where do we stand now on your stock market and economic measurements and expected 10-year returns?
Yeah. Every now and then, and I really, very infrequently, you probably can say something intelligent about markets as a whole. You do see circumstances that are extreme enough that you can make a statement that is likely to look reasonably intelligent 5 or 10 years later. And I've seen a few of those times in my lifetime. And I've spoken out a couple of times, and I did in 69 and 74 and a few times. Most of the time, you're in some in-between zone. Obviously, you get more for your money in equities now than you got, say, in the summer of 1999, which is when I delivered a talk out at Sun Valley that later got turned into an article for Fortune. But that was I spoke out then because it was extreme. I knew in a general way that I was going to be right, particularly in certain aspects of the market, but I didn't know when, and I didn't know how right or anything of the sort. And you could have done the same thing in the other direction back in the mid-70s. I think that if you had to make a choice between owning long-term bonds, which are now yielding the Treasury only a little over 4.5%, or owning equities for the next 20 years, and you couldn't make change that decision, I would certainly prefer equities. But I think people that have expectations that they can earn more than 6 or 7% in equities, and certainly when they start expecting double digits, I think the degree that they have expectations they can do that, or that they can find somebody else to do it for them, I think they're making a big mistake. But 6 or 7% is not the end of the world at all. In fact, it gets treated better tax-wise right now than it has almost really any time in my lifetime. So I don't think we're in bubble type at all valuations in equities, and I don't think we're anywhere remotely close to bargain valuations, and I don't think it's an extreme enough period that you can speak out in some very definitive way about the outlook. But if you told me I had to go away for 20 years and choose between what's obtainable in an index fund of equities or be committed to long-term bonds, I would rather take equities. But I think you will get a chance to do something that is more screamingly intelligent in not too many years, and maybe a lot shorter than the alternatives that you're offered now. Charlie?
Well, I can't improve on that at all.
Well, then we'll go to number 8.